Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel and welcome to my journey to Harder and Steenbeck. This is going to be a sort of talk through video, and I'm going to put you some little sort of slides up and bits of footage that I caught, because at the time I couldn't catch much footage because I'd put my back out before the journey. I'd trapped nerves in my back and I'm still sort of getting over it now. So the journey there was, I can honestly say, was horrendous for me because I was carrying luggage with trapped nerves and I was like walking really slow, struggling. At times I sort of collapsed in pain. So it was an 18-hour journey to Hamburg, which took longer than it should have because the German railway service was on strike. So we were getting diverted all around Germany to get to Hamburg. But we eventually got there and Warwick pulled up, picked us up and took us to an amazing hotel where we stayed. I'll leave links in the description if you are thinking of going over to Hamburg and you're looking for a hotel. I'd recommend this one because it was unbelievable. Service, second to none. Food, everything about it was amazing. So big thank you to Warwick for sorting the hotel out for us and basically picking us up and just sorting everything out. We didn't have to do anything. It was basically picked up in the morning. We got took to the factory, evening meals. It just, everything, as soon as we got to Germany, ran really smooth. So that took a lot of pressure off and I was in a lot of pain at the time. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that later on. But we went over to H&S and I took my brother-in-law because I didn't fancy the journey on my own. It was nice to have company. My brother-in-law has done a video on the channel, first time using an airbrush, and he got to have a go on a class at H&S as well. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that later on. So the first day was going to the factory. Now, as you all know, I started out with H&S 15 years ago when I started airbrushing. I started with the Focus, I moved on to the Evolution, and then moved on to the Infinity. So I know the brushes, I know how they work, how they're stripped down, and I've always said to you guys on the channel that the build quality is second to none with H&S. They last. I've got brushes there from 15 years ago and they are still performing today and work perfectly. Now, after going to the factory and seeing how these brushes are made, I can now understand where that quality comes from in these brushes, just on how they're made and the processes that H&S take to get this quality of brush out for you guys that are starting out airbrushing or you're advanced. So we rocked up at the factory and there was a few of us there and Warwick took us round the factory sort of step by step, went into the machine shop. I've got a few images I can pop up now. So these are some of the machines running. Now, I don't come from any of this sort of background, so I don't know any of this when it comes to sort of machining like pieces of metal and things. It was just a complete eye-opener. So I was just amazed on how these machines work. And there's a load of machines in this room, and there's all these technical guys running them. And you see all these computer screens, all these numbers and figures buzzing around. And Warwick's sort of talking us through what each machine was doing and what part of the brush it was producing, because you can just see all these machines spinning up and they're like blasting coolant to cool these sort of like cutting heads down and things like that. And then you go to sort of the front of the machine and it's spitting out parts of the brush. So if you can imagine your airbrush that you've got here, when you break these down, every piece is sort of individually made. So each machine was doing a separate sort of piece. From the triggers to the cups, the bodies. It was just amazing to see how these brushes sort of come to life. It really was. So he walked around the machine shop and he was talking through the pieces and how these machines work, the sort of speed that they cut them down and the speed they make these certain pieces at. We went through that stage and then he was showing us how they do the polishing, things like that, the big machines that do all the polishing. So all these pieces that you see on the brush, they all get sort of highly polished and finished. We've seen the machine that makes the needles, and that was like just incredible. The machine that makes the needles, how it feeds the rod in goes in, and the machine sort of comes in and sort of spins it up, machines the needle, and then the needle just drops out into a little tray, and it's just churning sort of like needles out. And then you go into sort of like the next part of the factory, and it's a big open space, and there's all sort of dedicated stations with people on, all doing their sort of individual jobs, whether it's somebody vacuum packing, like when you get your brush sent to you and it's in the box and you get the cellophane over it. It's something that you don't think of, you just sort of rip it open and you want to get into your brush, but there's a station for every single piece, and people are just working along down to where they put the brushes in the boxes. Like they've got gloves on and they'll put like the brush in the box, they put the card in the box, that gets sealed, moved to the next station, and it's just such a chilled out atmosphere, and everybody was welcoming you. They really were. When we walked in, everybody was just cracking on with the work, and you could have a walk round and have a look at the stations and they would sort of gladly show you and say, this is how I do this. It was just really nice to see. It's like a big sort of family atmosphere. Just everyone's so chilled out and really enjoy working for H&S, and I can see why, because the way Warrick goes round and interacts with his staff and treats his staff, it'd just be a lovely place to work. It really was. No one had a sad face on them. A lot of them, everybody there was speaking German, and people were coming up to us going, oh, you're from England. It's really nice to hear the English accent. And then by the end of the sort of week, everyone was sort of speaking sort of broken biscuits English, and everyone was sort of talking English at the end of the week. So it was really good to interact with these people. Going around some of the stations, you're just staring at sort of parts of brushes, and I've never seen so many brushes in my life on sort of different stages, where you see the bodies, hundreds and hundreds of bodies sort of racked, different colours. All the brushes that H&S do, if you know, like they do like the Evolution, the Infinite, the Ultra, you get to see all these parts. Like the cups, you'll see trays and trays of the cups, the different size cups that they do, the different rear bodies, whether it's the Infinite, the Ultra, the Evolution, you just get to see all these pieces. And there's a guy there called Frank, who's the production manager, really nice guy, and he sort of took me to his station, and he had the computer there, and he had an array of brushes, and it was like, this was in front of his computer because he actually paints. And I was chatting to him and he was showing me some of the brush things that they do from like past, and he's got boxes and boxes of brushes, and he said, this is my personal collection. And some of the brushes were like, some of the ones I'd never seen before, some of the limited edition ones, the gold H&S, things like that, the Squidmire ones, they were just sort of all lined up, and it was like looking at this when I come into the studio, because I'm sort of a collector. You sort of take pride in the brushes that you've got, and I could just tell that Frank did the same on his table. They were all sort of set out. So that was really nice to see. And we moved around, and I met a guy called Jonas who works there. Absolutely amazing guy, and a brilliant artist. And we got sort of interacting before I went over to H&S. Warrick introduced us because Jonas is paints trainers, and his trainers that he does are incredible. They really are. He's done a lot of trainers for celebrities, and he said, when you come over, I'll teach you how to do some trainers. We'll sit side by side and we'll do a trainer each. And we actually did that at the end of the week. Now, I've painted a lot of things, but that's one thing that I've not sort of painted, is never sort of dabbled into like painting trainers and things like that. And Jonas sat me down and showed me the step by step on how you prep a pair of trainers for painting, applying the paints, which sort of, I know that part where it comes to the artwork, applying it, but then he shows you how to seal it, the products that you use to seal it. So big shout out to Jonas for doing that. We did that at the sort of the end of the week. and they had a car. I'll pop you a picture up now. This car was in one of the areas of H&S, and it's a car that somebody's done, and they wanted some artwork doing on it. And it was arranged that the car got brought over because there was some UK artists, there was me, there was David Naylor. I'll leave a link to his channel. Absolutely amazing guy. He had us all in stitches from the start when we got there right till the end. So I've become a good friend of David's, and he got on really well with my brother-in-law. So he was doing bits. I did some bits on the car. There's a little bit of footage now of me doing a bit of painting, looking sort of in pain, kneeling on the floor, as you can see. But we all did a little bit on this car, signed it, and then that's going to get sort of cleared. Now this car was wrapped. I think this car's wrapped, and then the artwork was done on top, and then all the spikes and things you see on that, which look like bodywork sharp pieces, if you were to drive that round, say in the UK, the police would pull you over and you'd get your car confiscated. But all this is done in foam, so it was all stuck on foam, and it's themed around like the Mad Max Fury Road, sort of like the new Mad Max film that's coming out. So we all had to go on that, which was really cool. Got some good photos, as you can see here. There's one with me, Jonas, David and Warrick. It was just a great, good, fun sort of week at H&S. Everybody made you welcome. When it came to the Friday, Warrick set up this new thing where all his staff members get to go upstairs and they do an airbrush class. Now he's introducing this so all his staff will know how to airbrush and will learn to paint. So he can set them like a Friday afternoon, you pick sort of 8 staff and rotate it, and they get to start to paint, to pick the brushes up, because on an assembly line certain people will be doing certain things, and I think it's a really good idea that the staff know how the brushes work, how they perform, the air pressures that go through them, how the triggers work, how they perform with paint. And it's really cool to see on this class. I stood in on this class and gave a bit of guidance. Jonas was doing the class. We'd set the Ultra up. Everyone was sitting on the Ultra and people, it was for the first time they're taking out the box, even though they're on the production line and they're dealing with these brushes. It was really an eye-opener to see these people like go, ooh, and trying the trigger with the whole brush assembled and then clipping an airline on it and then putting paint through it. And we sort of done a basic introduction to spraying. Jonas was going around talking in German to the people, then I was going around sort of talking a bit of sort of English to people as well when they were picking up tips. And I shared this class with them and by the end of it, these people from H&S were painting, and you could see the smiles on their faces when they'd achieved something. They were all painting like a parrot portrait with stencils, laying duplicate stencils down. And they all had a buzzy smile on their face when they laughed, like they'd achieved something. They could take that back, they could give it to the children, stick it on the fridge with a magnet, and it's something that they've achieved at work. And I think this is a really good thing that H&S are doing. They're getting their staff involved and they're all becoming painters, which is really, really good because you understand the brushes and how they work. So we did that on the Friday, and that was sort of the last day. The little clips that I've shown you there, they're the sort of clips that I got. There was a lot more that went on, but I just wanted to do this video today just to sort of show you where I've been. And it was just an absolute pleasure. I feel honoured to be able to go over there and just see how these brushes are made, because it's sort of, I started with the brand 15 years ago, and it's like I can't believe that I've now been over to the factory and met these incredible people that make these brushes. And as I say, if you've got doubts about a H&S brush, guys, you're thinking of buying, you don't know what brand to get, go with H&S, because you won't look back. You really won't. The brushes are, I think they're the best on the market for quality. They really are. They're built really well by lovely, lovely people that take pride in their work. They really do. So I hope you've enjoyed this video on my sort of little look into H&S. I'm going to go and take some more painkillers because I'm sitting here in pain. I will see you in the next one. We've got some Lambretta stuff to do. I've got tons and tons of Lambretta stuff to churn through, as well as loads of other stuff. But I hope you've enjoyed it. I'll leave links in the description to H&S website so you can have a look at some of the brushes. I'll leave links to the Ultra and the new Evolution 2024 and the Infinitec is coming, guys. That's all I can say. I've seen bits on it behind the scenes, and just keep your eyes out for the Infinitec because this one is going to be special. So thanks for watching. See you in the next one.